Faster! Faster! Sommoteph pushed the incandescent marble with his thoughts while his infant hands stretched for it and his baby giggles reverberated against the walls like a clapper inside of a bell. He was divinely aware that he was a newborn and he had divine consciousness of the universe, the laws of belief, time, space, and dimensions that spun and intertwined like the web of a spider. The marble caught fire and it smelled like mercury to Sommoteph. He smiled in effulgence. He looked at his hands and feet that kicked the air, then he divinely realized that he had grown into an adolescent. He got off his back and stood below the ring of fire that the fizzing marble made. The heat excited and churned his curiosity, but it also revealed that a steady luminescence came down from above the ring of fire. By divine introspection Sommoteph felt the contents of marble and he pulled them out with his mind. Golden plants sprouted out of the marble and merged into a tree, then turned crystalline in form but remained gold in color. By divine imagination Sommoteph hypostatized the branches of the tree into two birds which flew upward, and Sommoteph grew to the height of the tree and caught the birds in his hands. One bird was male and the other was female. He knew this from divine knowledge. The overhead luminescence grew stronger and Sommoteph realized that he was a full-size humanoid man in the brightness of the light. He looked around and noticed that the walls were actually the feet of two opposite-facing marble statues. But there was life in the statues, a bubbling and active mass of cosmic divinity coursed through the statues. Sommoteph could see their faces now. The male statue had the head of a jackal and the female statue had the head of a peacock. But that was incorrect. The heads were emblematic masks, and Sommoteph knew that from divine understanding because these divine presences were his parents. Your level of creativity has been ascertained from the test, so we will reward you with one of our planets to govern on our behalf, my child, said the father. The divine presences moved. It startled Sommoteph to see the statues move so fluidly as they joined hands above him. You are our son Sommoteph, and your world will be named after you. The light from their eyes blinded Sommoteph and he raised his arm to shield his eyes. Then he felt earth between his toes, the wind against his body, the sun beating against his body, and the boom of the surf that crashed against the shore of the land he stood on. He stepped forward and turned around only to see two colossal towers that were shaped like jackal ears. Divine senses made him hear the thoughts of the humans, animals, and plants on the planet. He saw them in his mind's eye too. He went around the world by traveling through the minds of all the creatures from the largest to the smallest and from the air to the depths of the oceans. He became one with the metaphysical energies that permeated the planet. The divine presences were gone, but the two towers formed a gateway to speak with them if ever needed. He noticed that the humans were more intelligent than the other organisms, but they acted like the rest on a daily basis: procreation, reproduction, feeding and community building. He could experiment with feeding, but it was not necessary because of his divine nature. He indulged in procreation with the human females but found that less than a fraction of his divinity was passed on to his children. As for community building, because he made better tools and spoke things into being, the rudimentary humans saw him as an oriflamme on which to center their Stone Age communities on, so he became their king. By divine understanding, Sommoteph never mentioned his parents to his kingdom nor his background because they were to be kept secret. One day Sommoteph fell into a deep sleep and he saw his parents with his sibling Enyanwu, who lived in the sun that shone down on Sommoteph's planet. Diamonds, jades, rubies, sapphires and gold decorated the exterior and interior of Enyanwu's palace, from where he administered over the movement of the planetary system. Enyanwu sat on a throne while lecherous women clung to his arms and legs. There was one woman who was by his ear, and divinely Sommoteph sensed something odd about her, but she was too far away for him to point the flaw inside of her. There was an unspoken meaning for the meeting which Sommoteph felt in his heart. It was as though his parents communicated that Enyanwu was greater and Sommoteph was lesser. The next time he saw his brother was in another deep sleep when he was at a banquet hosted by his parents for the other divine presences. Sommoteph met his uncles and aunts like death, mischief, discord, malice, love, and war. Enyanwu was presented with a bride named Kandake, who was the daughter of a human friend of his parents. While everyone celebrated, Sommoteph noticed the hidden discontent from the woman he had seen next to his brother's ear in the previous dream.